Hey guys, what is going on? Welcome back to another video here on the channel. In this week's video, we're going to be taking a look at a radio that is specifically known to be a really good, decent radio at a budget price for speed run cars. That's why we specifically have this here. Many of you guys said this is the radio to get. It was by far the #1 choice from our last video when I asked the question about what to do with my radio. So this model is a Radio Link, and the model number is an RC6GS. That's what's on the label of this. I brought this into Canada for less than 130 Canadian dollars, which is an incredible price point for something that is capable on the box specification of 600 meters. What we're going to be taking a look at in this video is physically, how does this radio feel in the hands? How does all of the buttons feel and the switches that come with it? And how do you actually power this radio? That's specifically what I want to look at, because some of my previous radios have been limited in the amount of input voltage that it accepts. However, this radio, not so much. So let's dive right into it and open up the box for the first time. So it looks like we have a standard way here to open up the box. We just need to pull open this tab and we can flip up the cover here and open up all of the flaps of this cardboard box. From here we got a foam package, and it looks like there you can see the radio already, and I'm going to slide this out, or attempt to slide it out. Alright, so I'm going to place the box off to the side for now. We won't be needing this right now. We're going to take a look at what we get. Okay, so the actual manual, it looks like it comes in, okay, so it does have an English side here on one face, and I'd imagine this is the manual. If you open it up that way, it looks like, yes, it does come with everything you need to kind of get you started. The manual does not look like it is all that long. There's only a few pages here, and you get right into a different language here at the halfway point. So we'll be taking a look at this later. Let's see exactly how this looks when we take a look at what's inside this foam packaging here. So right off the bat, we have something that's able to hook up to the radio, throw around your neck. This is always helpful. I actually do really prefer using those for an airplane style radio. It feels a lot more comfortable, and I'm always afraid of dropping an airplane radio. I don't know why, but when it comes to an airplane radio, I always prefer that. However, when it comes to a pistol grip radio, I don't think I've ever used it on a pistol grip radio. For some reason, not worried if I drop my transmitter. Let's take a look at what we got inside this box. It looks like we got a receiver. It comes with 2 antennas. So this, I know when I brought this radio in, it does have some sort of minimal amounts of telemetry, and I don't know if one of these antennas is going to be for telemetry and the other antenna is going to be for your radio signal. I know when it comes to a lot of the Spectrum Air radios, this is exactly how they have them already set up, where you have a difference there in what the specific antennas on one unit actually do. So that's how it works there. Not sure if it's the same for this Radio Link receiver. So we'll take a look at that. The actual size of the receiver is pretty small, so it's nice to see that they're actually this size, because I know that the V2 Arma Limitless, which this could end up into, does have a smaller radio box, so good to see. Another thing that we do have inside this box is a cable. I'd imagine this cable is specifically for the telemetry that we have built into this specific receiver and transmitter combination. Unfortunately, I do not use XT60 for any of the speedrun cars. It's simply not enough, as you can imagine. This is going to be only good for one of the micro cars that I have. I think it's around the 1/18, 1/16 scale. So now we get into the radio itself. I'm going to go and open up this box here, open up the package, I should say, inside of this foam area. It's interesting how it's actually packaged in a bag as well as being placed into this foam here. So this is what the radio looks like. Taking a look at this radio for the first time and being able to feel it. Now it does feel like the pistol grip. It's a very small body and my hand easily wraps around this almost too much. It does feel like if I hold it really tight, I will not be able to properly use the actual trigger here as my finger will crash into my thumb. I do like to have a little bit more padding in behind here in order to grip the transmitter to suit my specific hand type, which is obviously going to be different than anyone else who tries this radio. So this is really a personal fitment test for your hand versus this radio. In my case, I feel like my hand might be a little bit longer than what this radio was specifically designed for. Either way, I can make it work just by holding the radio in a very slightly different way to allow myself to be able to pull that trigger effectively and efficiently and make sure that it's able to move in both directions. Now the trigger does feel quite nice. It does feel quite smooth going in from the neutral point all the way to full throttle, as well as holding that trigger from neutral and pushing it into the brake side of its travel range. Now taking a look at the steering wheel that's on the transmitter, it does feel pretty good as well. It does seem like the travel is somewhat limited, but I do think that this is quite common for most standard radios. I'm not being very precise or accurate with the value of degrees of motion you get out of these typical wheels, but it does feel like it's right there in the realm of what it should be. Taking a look at these switches, the switch itself here, it is a 3-position switch and it does feel pretty good. It is small, so the travel on these switches does feel somewhat limited, but that doesn't necessarily matter. And the fact that the switch feels really good and it gives you that sort of confirmation that it's in position and holding well. So I do like the feel of the 3-position switches, and they do feel both the same. That's nice. Looking at the knob here that we have, it looks like it's an adjustable knob. This one feels a little bit different, so I'm not liking the exact feel of how this feels. I'd imagine, if I were to explain what I'm feeling here, is it feels almost like I got something that has a little bit of resistance, so it does definitely hold its position, but as you move it to its position, it feels quite grindy, like you're moving it and it's grinding against something. What I do like is that feel that feels like you have a bearing, but that bearing has resistance to it that is nice and smooth and linear. Being smooth would make this feel so much better than how it feels right now. It looks like we do have some trim buttons on the side here in 2 directions. We can go up, down. There is ST. I'm expecting this is the steering trim that is closest to the back side here of the radio. And then we got the throttle trim on the top. And we got another trim that is right here at the front. So all of them do feel very similar, and it does have a good response. And you can feel and have that confirmation that you have pushed it into one direction with that click as well, that very good audible click. So I'm pretty surprised about most of the switches that are on this radio. There's a couple more right here on the pistol side of the radio. This looks like it's an up and down switch, I'm expecting. And this one actually feels really good. And then we have another button here that's just a single press button right at the top. And that has a nice audible click to it as well. It feels pretty good as well. Nothing to complain about there. We got 4 buttons right on the top here, top side, and all 4 of these buttons feel the same as I would expect. And in fact, I press one and I can see that it looks like other buttons are going down as well. So it must be somehow connected in there on one board, and the board must be moving or something, because I do press one and see others moving down slightly. I don't think they're not being pressed at all, but the board seems like it is flexing or whatever is actually going on there. On the very back side of this transmitter, you have an on and off switch as well as a USB port. I would expect the USB port here. This is specifically for upgrading the firmware in this specific radio and not for actually charging the batteries, because the batteries on this radio have the potential to be from 4.8 volts all the way up to 15 volts with, of course, any type of battery chemistry. So we're going to open up that very shortly and see what's going on there. We also have on and off switch here. That is in a good location, well out of reach, so you don't end up hitting that by accident. And then we have this other port, DSC. I'd expect maybe this is something where you can use a product similar to Crossfire or anything of that nature. So now opening up the battery tray, this is what I'm most interested at this point, just seeing how I'm actually going to power this. This is the reason why we won't get any further into looking at this radio, as I will be rigging up a battery that we can actually use in here. So this is a tray for 6 AA's. Now I'm certain you can use your typical alkaline battery packs, which is going to be somewhere around 1.5 volts per cell, giving you 9 volts in total. And if we are able to pop this out, typically these just pop or slide out. So I just pull it and it looks like I can unplug it here. And it's just a JST connector that is used. Now what's interesting about these style connectors is you can use a standard radio connector, the 3-prong connector that is connected with most servos out there on the market. And that, I don't know if you can see it, I'll show it right up to this camera here. See if you can get a good look at inside what that looks like. And that specific connector that can be used there, I'm probably going to rig something up so I can use a standard servo connector to be used with a 2-cell, either lithium polymer battery pack or lithium ion battery pack. And this way I can use one connector to get my balance ports as well as get the main power. So if you're interested in seeing how I'm able to do that, let me know and I can make a video that talks about how that is done. It's not anything new, but it is something that I do like to use so I can simplify the connector that I'm able to use. That's really it when it comes to this specific radio, all the switches, the feel of it, and the battery options that we do have. As I mentioned, 2 cells more than likely what we're going to do, and that's going to be my next task to get this radio up and running. Once we have that figured out, then I will be going out and seeing what kind of range I actually get with this. Is it true that we can get up to 600 meters? That would be absolutely incredible. So far, quite surprised as to what this type of dollar value can get you on the radio market today. Thanks a lot for those of you who made the suggestion to get this specific radio. If you have any suggestions that you want to pass along, throw that in the comments section below. As always, like the video if you do. Don't forget to hit that sub button so that I can see you guys in the next video. Thanks a lot for watching. See you in the next one.